Seahawks Mailbag, Week 1 surprises, booing and more. The Seahawks are 1-0 after a wild Monday night win over the Denver Broncos, and now they have a quick turnaround before their Week 2 game in Santa Clara. And with players enjoying a much-deserved day off on Tuesday, now is the time to open up the mailbag and answer questions from you, the fans. As always, thanks to everyone who asked questions this week, and apologies if I couldn't get to yours this time around. What surprised me most? Like just about everyone else, I'll go with Denver's decision to attempt a 64-yard field goal late in the game rather than go for it on 4th and 5. The stage seemed to be set for Russell Wilson to potentially pull of his specialty, a fourth-quarter comeback, for his new team while facing his former team, but with more than a minute still on the clock, the Broncos let the clock run down, called timeout, then attempted what would have been tied for the second-longest field goal in NFL history, at sea level, outdoors and into the end of Lumen Field known for late-game chaos. As for who surprised me, I would point to Geno Smith, not because I didn't think he would play well, but against a really good Broncos defense. There's no way to expect a quarterback starting the game 12 for 12 and going 17 for 18 in the first half. Having watched Smith practice for 3+ years, I'm not surprised that, given his chance, he is playing well, but I'd be lying if I said I saw that kind of first half coming. Uchenna Nwosu is another player who enjoyed a strong camp and preseason, but like Smith's game, it would have been difficult to predict Nwosu having that big of an impact in his Seahawks debut, recording a sack, 7 tackles, a pass defensed, and most notably, a forced fumble at the goal line. Cathartic for fans to boo an opponent, a pretty harmless act, and possibly help their team in the process, then why do we care? Absolutely not. If you were at the game and chose to take the high road and cheer for Wilson, that's fine, but I really don't see the issue with fans booing, something that happens at sporting events around the world every day. The Seahawks had 19 runs out of 49 plays. One of those was a Smith scramble, 3 were kneel downs at the end of the game, but I still wouldn't go so far to say they abandoned the run. That being said, Carroll would be the first to tell you that he would have liked to see the Seahawks run the ball a little more often and more successfully. But an important thing to remember about Carroll's offensive philosophy is that the goal is balance more than it is to just run the ball all the time, and for Carroll balance isn't about having a certain number of runs or passes in a given game, but to have a balanced attack capable of moving the ball successfully by whatever means necessary. And especially early on when the Seahawks offense was clicking, Smith was finding receivers and tight ends open to make plays in the passing game, while the Broncos were playing stout run defense. Somewhere down the road the Seahawks will have a game where they run the ball a ton, but Carroll's philosophy is not to force that just for the sake of getting more carries. Adams suffered what Carroll called a serious knee injury last night, and that is no doubt a blow to Seattle's defense, which had high hopes for what Adams would be able to do in Seattle's new scheme. The good news is the Seahawks like their safety depth in Josh Jones, who was one of the bright spots of training camp, and Ryan Neal, who has played well in a starting role each of the past 2 seasons when Adams missed time due to injury. To me, one of the more interesting questions going forward is whether or not the Seahawks still use the 3 safety looks we saw in training camp with Jones joining Adams and Quandre Diggs on the field. That seemed to be a sub-package the Seahawks really liked, but will it be something they pursue without Adams,